The final major of the year, this time Roland Garros, is about to be played, and we have all of the big guns playing that are healthy, of course. I'm going to break down the draw and pick who I think will raise the Coupe de Muskateir here on Grand Slam Tennis News today. Looking at the top 4 seeds projected path to the finals, we first have Novak, who will open against Mikael Ymer. He is then set to play Ricardas Berankis in the second round, Hubert Hurkacz in the third, followed by Karen Khachanov in the round of 16. Berrettini could be a quarters opponent, and possibly Medvedev in the semis, then in the finals, Thiem or Nadal. Speaking of Nadal, the 3-time defending champ will start his title defense against Igor Gerasimov. He then could play American Mackie McDonald in the second, Dan Evans in the third, followed by Fognini in the round of 16. US Open finalist Alexander Zverev is a quarters opponent, and then champion Thiem is his semi. Lastly, in the finals, he's set to play Djokovic. Last year's runner-up Thiem will first play Marin Cilic, followed by another giant Riley Opelka in the second round. Casper Ruud is a third-round opponent, and in the fourth, 2015 champion Stan Wawrinka. Dominic could play Rome finalist Schwartzman in the quarters, and in the semis, Rafa. Lastly, in the finals, it's Novak. Finally, 4th seed Daniil Medvedev will open against Martin Fucsovics, followed by Adrian Mannarino. In the third round, he may face Nicolas Basilashvili, and in the fourth, Andrei Rublev. The quarterfinal sees him facing Stefanos Tsitsipas, and then Novak Djokovic in the semifinals. Lastly, in the finals, Rafael Nadal or Dominic Thiem. First, looking at Djokovic's quarter, I think he'll have an easy road to the second week. Hurkacz and Norrie are good players, and I think Hurkacz will play Nole in the third round. But I see this matchup going like how it went last year with Novak dominating. Djokovic's round of 16 opponent could be tricky, as Cristian Garin, Ugur Humbert, and Karen Khachanov are possible opponents. Humbert has been impressive. He beat Fognini and Medvedev in his past 2 tournaments. Garin and Humbert are set to face each other in the second round, which should be a really great match. I think the winner of that match will play Novak, and although Karen Khachanov is his projected opponent, his recent form on clay has been a bit shaky, and although he has the more experience in majors, Garin and Humbert have more reps on the surface as of late. I'm ultimately picking Humbert to play Novak, and I have Djokovic coming through to reach the quarters. Roberto Bautista Agut is at the top of Berrettini's quarter, and getting straight to the point, I think he and Matteo will play in the fourth round. He's projected to play Pablo Carreño Busta, but Busta isn't that great on clay, and I'm actually picking John Millman to beat him in the opening round. Struff could face Berrettini, but I picked Tiafoe because Francis looks in slightly better form. Berrettini, I think, will get through Tiafoe and Agut, as he played really well in Rome and is a better player right now than all the people in his section. If Djokovic and Berrettini do play, I'm picking Novak because ultimately it's a bad matchup for the Italian. If he's on and Novak isn't, he could do it, but I don't think it will happen. Daniil Medvedev has a so-so draw. Fucsovics and Mannarino could be tough, but I see him advancing. Nicolas Basilashvili is the first seed he may play, but he's been playing poorly all year. Regardless of Daniil's opponent in the third, I still have him advancing to the fourth. I think here he'll face Rublev, who could play Dusan Lajovic. Lajovic will play Laszlo Djere or Kevin Anderson in the second round. I picked Djere here because he's the superior clay court player. Also, Anderson still isn't 100% after the knee injury layoff. Medvedev has beaten Rublev in their previous 4 meetings, but I think this time will be different. All of their meetings thus far have been on hard. Clay is Daniil's worst surface, and Rublev has been playing well recently, especially in Hamburg. The tournament will be playing differently this year though, and even Medvedev says that this can help him. Ultimately, however, I think Rublev will get the monkey off his back and beat Medvedev. Newly top 10 player Denis Shapovalov is at the top of Tsitsipas' section, and once again he's set to face Grigor Dimitrov in the third round. Shapo got the best of Dimitrov in Rome, but I think Grigor with the chip on his shoulder will advance to the round of 16. Here he could play Stefanos Tsitsipas, who has the second worst draw of the top 8. Assuming he gets past clay court specialists Munar and Cuevas, Steph could face Krajinovic, who's been playing really well since the restart. Ultimately though, I think Stefanos will make it to the second week, and I have him beat Dimitrov or Shapovalov, whoever he plays, just off of gut feeling. The quarters against Rublev is an extremely difficult match to predict, but I'll still have the Greek advancing to his second major semi. Frenchman Gael Monfils is next to observe, and I'm going to be frank, I think he'll fall in the opening round to Bublik. Unlike Bublik, Monfils has been playing really poorly during the clay court swing, and is likely to suffer even more with the reduced crowd to 1,000 people. I actually am picking Bublik to advance to the 4th round, beating Fritz in the 3rd. Diego Schwartzman and Borna Coric are set to play in the 3rd round, and while this is another difficult match to pick, I'm going with Diego to beat both Coric and Bublik. Team section is next, and he has by far the toughest draw. Cilic, Opelka, Ruud, Wawrinka, and Auger Aliassime can all beat him. Looking at the top of the section, Wawrinka and Murray feature in the battle of the major champions. Although Stan hasn't looked the best recently, I pick him to win that match because Murray's hit will be tested greatly on clay, and he hasn't had any match play on the surface. I'm actually going to have Stan losing in the second round to Dominic Thiem, as the German has been on fire for the past 2 weeks. I ultimately think Aliassime will take him out and reach the round of 16, where I feel he'll play Casper Ruud. Me having Ruud in the 4th round means I have him beating Thiem, but I don't even have the Austrian making the second round. I actually have Marin Cilic beating him in the 1st. This is a bold prediction. However, he was very impressive last week in Rome, crushing Goffin and testing Ruud. The main reason why I think Thiem will lose to Cilic is lack of preparation. As evident through his one-sided 60 defeat to Krajinovic, Thiem is a player that needs reps and some form of formal match play prior to an event. I think an additional contributor to his success at Roland Garros is the availability of lead-up tournaments on the surface. Normally, he plays many clay court tournaments prior to Paris that help him iron out any kinks and issues. This year, he hasn't played any clay court tournaments prior to Paris, and I think for this tournament in particular, he needs to work his way into the matches, and this draw does not allow him to do this. Should he get past Cilic, the draw could open up, and Opelka may fall to Sock and Ruud to Tommy Paul. I don't think this will happen, and I have Felix and Casper meeting in the 4th round, with Ruud advancing to play Diego. Schwartzman and Ruud would be an incredible match, and I'm conflicted who to choose. I'm going with Diego for now because of his slightly better experience in bigger situations. Alexander Zverev's section I think is relatively favorable. De Minaur and Goffin could cause problems for him, but I think he'll get by. At last is Nadal's section, and I also think it's pretty decent. Evans and Nishikori could challenge him in the 3rd and maybe Fognini in the 4th. Fabio though still hasn't hit his stride since his ankle surgeries, but this tournament could be where the stars align for him. I think Nadal will face Alex in the quarters and will defeat him, simply because this is Rafael Nadal in a best of 5 clay court tournament. This Roland Garros will be extremely difficult for Nadal for obvious reasons, but also because of the ball. Nadal said in his press conference before the tournament, "I practiced with the balls in Mallorca before the comeback. In Mallorca with warm conditions, the ball was very slow. I think it's not a good ball to play on clay, honestly. That is my personal opinion. Even with these conditions, it makes things tougher, but I knew before arriving here, so no problem at all. I just have to accept the challenge. But I really believe that the organization needs to take a look at that for the next couple of years for the health of the players too, because the ball is super heavy. It becomes dangerous for the elbow and for the shoulders, I think." He goes on to say, "But this year is what we have. I'm just staying positive with this. I know we're going to have to play with this ball, so I need to find the best feelings possible with these conditions. That's what I'm looking forward to do. Just practicing with the right motivation, right ambition, and then let's see what I can do or what I can't do." Thiem actually shares similar sentiments, saying, "I practiced 2 days at home with the ball. Now of course here. I'm a little bit sad because the Babolat at Roland Garros, it was my favorite ball. It was perfect. Obviously it was the ball from my racket company. It was fast, was taking spin incredibly well. But the Wilson ball is good as well. It's just a little bit slower. It gets a little bit bigger after a while. In general, the conditions are going to be slower. It can be rainy, can be very cold, so we'll see. Again, it's mentally a challenge with these tough conditions. I think there are going to be whole matches in rainy conditions, which is tough. It's similar like New York. The guys who will handle all the tough conditions, circumstances the best, they will go the farthest in this tournament. I think that the ball and overall conditions are very interesting, but I don't think they'll change much here with Nadal. Although his form was shaky in Rome, I do think he'll make many corrections and advance to the finals. We have to remember, this is best of 5, and everything changes in favor of Nadal under these circumstances. Rafa is literally unbeatable in the semifinal and final stages of Roland Garros, and I think this could remain if he doesn't face Novak. Putting it bluntly, Rafa is a bad matchup for Novak currently, and while we're on clay, Djokovic has been the better player and even has more room for improvement. If the serve limits those slow starts and outbursts, I think he'll be fine. In my prediction, I have an ultimatum. If Rafa plays Novak in the finals, I'm going with the Serbian. But if Nadal plays literally anybody else, I'm picking him to win his 13th Roland Garros title. I do think Djokovic and Nadal will reach the finals, where Djokovic will win. By the way, here's my entire draw pick. You can pause to read them, and my apologies if they appear blurry. Also, here's my complete list of popcorn matches. You can pause to read that as well. And that is all for my tournament preview. Do you agree that Novak will win his 2nd title in Paris, or will Nadal come through to win his 13th? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever we post new updates for this tournament. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today.